and from 1984.
It's just all around.
1984 from 1984. This might be about a uh, co-host episode. I know you're gonna have a lot to say.
I'm gonna try to hold it for beat it. I don't
For
want to.
beat it. Okay.
I don't want to dominate 2 episodes in a row, or 3 if you count George.
Well, true. That's all right. Well, I have lots of things to say about Michael Jackson.
Well, and your favorite.
Okay. That's the first thing I want to say.
Welcome to the Greatest Lists podcast, a show about music and lists. This season, your hosts Jason and Eric are counting down the top 25 guitar solos of the 80s and the top 25 guitar solos of the 90s. Think your favorite made the list? Tune in and find out. Take it away, boys.
Welcome back to Season 2 of Greatest Lists, a music and talk podcast featuring lists of the greatest songs of all time. I'm one of your hosts, Jason, for this episode. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Eric. Hey, school's in session, man.
Oh man, is it really?
Did you bring your pencil?
I think the
Bring
clock.
something
is
to write on, man. You don't feel tardy. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Cannot wait to get into this one. But before we continue, we are now in November, which means we have a new sponsor. And it just happens to be the sister site of HalloweenCostumes.com, Fun.com.
Nice.
Over the years, their goal has remained the same. No matter what you're looking for, they want Fun.com to be your go-to destination for exciting and unique gifts. From toys and apparel, you can pretty much find anything you need over there if you're looking for a gift for somebody this Christmas.
Nice.
Of course, the best part of buying at Fun.com, we got a promo link for you, people.
Of course we do.
Click it in the show notes, save 10% off your entire order. Don't have to do anything but fill your cart, and your 10% savings is there. For me, that's like getting something tax-free, because we got to pay 10%.
Tax free.
Yeah, I hate paying sales tax, but anyway.
That's amazing.
Get your tax-free. That adds up, man. We're putting a lot in your cart. So.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you take advantage of that offer in the show notes. You got to do it before December 31st. We're even going to give you late people who don't go shopping till after Christmas that 10% discount. So you got no excuses. Use that promo link before the end of the year. All right, we are continuing the second half of Season 2 here, our top 25 guitar solos of the 80s. We're getting close to the top, man.
I know.
A song from the 1984 album 1984. Coming in at number 4 on our list, Hot for Teacher by Van Halen.
Behind the music.
So our spotlight today is, of course, on guitarist Eddie Van Halen. But since Eric covered most of his history in the Pound Cake episode for our 90s solo list, I'm going to cover the story behind the 1984 album, which Eric and I both hold in high regard.
Oh yeah.
So following the tour in support of their 4th studio album, Fair Warning, the band initially wanted to slow down, take a break. They just released one single, which was Oh Pretty Woman. It was intended just to be a standalone release. However, Warner Records asked for another album due to its success. And the band recorded their 5th studio album, Diver Down, very quickly. Following the recording of the album, Eddie was dissatisfied by the concessions he had made for the album from frontman David Lee Roth and Warner Brothers producer Ted Templeton. They both discouraged Eddie from making keyboards a prominent instrument in the band's music. So by 1983, Eddie was in the process of building his own studio with Don Landy, the band's longtime engineer and later producer on 5150 and OU 812. While the boards and tape machines were being installed, Eddie began working on synthesizers to pass the time. There's where he composed Van Halen's follow-up to Diver Down without as much perceived interference from David Lee Roth or Templeton.
Yep.
As early as 1981, Eddie had already written the keyboard intro for Jump.
Yep.
that would eventually introduce the album. The final result was a compromise. The final result of the album, that is, was a compromise between the two creative factions in the band, a mixture of keyboard heavy songs and guitar driven hard rock, which was the band was mostly known for. So 1984 was the longest in the making album of the band's career. It took months to record compared to the previous LPs taking less than 2 weeks. So they put a lot of time and effort into this album. Not sure you knew this. I didn't know this. The 1984 album was released on January 9th, 1984. So it was released on 1/9/84.
Yeah, I knew that after the fact. Like later on, I knew that.
Yeah, it's not known whether that was a clever marketing ploy or if it was just a coincidence.
Somebody had to have figured that out.
I would have thought.
Yeah.
But the release ended Van Halen's streak of releasing one album every year since 1978.
Which is crazy. That's a lot of work.
Just missed by, well, when you're only taking 2 weeks to record.
Well, I know, that's even crazier. I mean,
that's, yeah. So 1984 reached number 2 on the Billboard 200 album chart, remained there for 5 weeks behind Michael Jackson's Thriller, of course. Of which it's kind of ironic because Eddie actually makes a guest appearance on Beat It. But 1984 contained the singles Jump, of course, Panama, I'll Wait, and our featured song, Hot for Teacher. Jump reached number 1 on the Billboard 100 and would be their only number 1. The 1984 album is the second of 2 Van Halen albums to receive an diamond status by the recording industry. Over 10 million copies sold in the U.S. Their self-titled debut is the other.
Yep.
In Rolling Stone's retrospective review of 1984, it's in the 100 best albums of the 80s. Warner Brothers producer Templeton, who we mentioned earlier, he was against, Eddie playing keyboard, said, quote, "It's real obvious to me why 1984 won Van Halen a broader and larger audience. Eddie Van Halen discovered the synthesizer." What a jerk.
It is so crazy that just how much of a fight that was for that to be added to the album. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So ridiculous. And then to kind of renege on your
Yeah.
your battle against Eddie
Yeah.
at the end of the day. But
It's so ridiculous.
Let's get personal.
so the first time I likely experienced Hot for Teacher was MTV. I was well aware of the Jump when it came out, the single that is. The 8-year-old that I was at the time, I remember hearing it at the skating rink and trying to jump whenever you heard the lyric in the song.
That's awesome.
And not wipe out, on the skating
not kill
rink.
yourself.
Yeah, so you were cool. Once Jump came on, man, if you could pull off a jump every time you said it and make it the whole time without falling, you were on top of the world there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I definitely watched MTV at that age, and I remember the videos for Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher. The main thing that stuck out in my mind when you say Hot for Teacher is in the music video when Eddie is soloing and he's walking across the tables there in the library.
Yeah.
What kid didn't want to do that, man?
Exactly.
Just walk across. Not that you're necessarily playing guitar, but
Just do that in the library. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really what sticks out when I'm thinking about this song. I can't remember exactly when I bought the cassette album, but another memory I have listening to it on repeat essentially was in high school at my friend Jim's house. We both had Sega Genesis, and we were into Madden football like nobody's business.
Nice.
I would go over to his house on the weekend, and we would stay up all night playing seasons of Madden football.
That's awesome.
And while we weren't necessarily blaring the stereo late at night, what we like to do sometimes is turn the volume down on the game and then crank music while we're playing.
Sure.
And order pizza or whatever, Right. So I remember 1984, it was always in the mix, man. I would bring the cassette over and we always had it ready to go when we needed it too, just to get a little Van Halen in the veins. But what's your personal history with the album?
I think I mentioned when we did the Pound Cake episode that this album was my gateway drug to Eddie Van Halen. I heard this, and then when I think one day I said to my buddy who owned it, I was like, "Man, this album is so awesome." He's like, "Yeah, have you heard all their other albums?" And I'm like, "What?" And so this entire
goes the brain.
Is my gateway drug to not only just the band but just to Eddie Van Halen. Because I wasn't playing at that point. I wasn't playing guitar yet. So this was another one of the catalysts for it. But I remember this video got played nonstop on MTV, and the whole premise behind it, all the band members as kids, was the best part of that video. But yeah, I heard the song before I saw the video because I, of course, heard the album when Jump and Panama came out. So yeah, but yeah, I played this album relentlessly, non-stop, and I still do actually. I mean, I just listened to this album last week while I was working. It's a regular album for me to listen to.
Nice.
And so, and I've taught my son the joys of it too. One day, it's been several years ago, but he used to work on a help desk at a company here in town, and he tweeted one day that he was the only guy on the floor, and so I'm blaring Van Halen's 1984 over my computer speakers. I was like, man, I may not have done many things right as a parent, but I did one thing.
There you go. Well, you mentioned before and have mentioned during the season, all the blowback you got from your parents over certain songs, album covers and stuff. This one is really the only one I remember my mother complaining about.
Oh yeah.
Like, why is that angel smoking a cigarette?
Yep.
That's not appropriate.
So that year I went to the State Fair. You can buy, cheap t-shirts at State Fair.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I bought this shirt. And actually hid it from my parents, and would walk out of the house wearing one thing and change into the shirt.
Nice.
Once I got out of the house, I mean, I would literally stand on a neighborhood street and take off my shirt and put this one on. And
that's awesome.
I had it for, probably 3 or 4 years. And yeah, I had to hide it because I knew my mother would have a conniption fit if she saw me wearing that shirt.
Yeah. Oh gosh, the county fair was where to go to find some good t-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Concert t-shirts and airbrush t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I remember buying shirts there. Yeah. My I think I told the story in the Aerosmith episode in the first half of the season. I got the Get a Grip t-shirt there at the county fair.
Oh yeah, that's right.
With the Pierce cow udder. My mother loved that shirt too. Wore it to my senior pictures. She's like,
thanks.
Put that jacket on.
Thanks for that, son.
The breakdown.
All right, so there's kind of 2 solos in the song. The first comes in right after Alex lays down that awesome drum solo at the beginning, and then Eddie just taps his way into that first verse at the beginning of the song. It's so good. And then the bridge solo, it's just insane. I can mostly run it through my head just because I've heard it 1,000 times.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so insane. It's almost like he picks different places on the fretboard to tear it up. Yeah. He'll go high, low, middle. He's just all over the place. And as Dave says at the end of the song, oh my God, it's just amazing. It's just amazing, the solo on this song. And I've always just loved the rhythm of this song. Alex and his drumming at his absolute best, I think, on this album. But
yeah,
for an album that has Eddie Van Halen, I'd say I do more air drumming than air guitar. And I've listened to this album, like I said, thousands of times. I do a lot of air drumming during this album. This is one of the songs too, because it's just, gosh,
sure, yeah.
Alex is amazing on this song and several songs, and what he adds to it. But
right. Right.
That's kind of my take of Hot for Teacher.
The intro solo that you're talking about over the drum part, that's like a rite of passage for guys that were learning how to play guitar. I mean, even now I've seen guys doing it, but in the 80s, that was like a rite of passage that you learned how to play that tapping part. And if you could pull that off in front of other people, that was amazing. And I spent a lot of time learning how to play that, just that tapping. But yeah, it's like I think we mentioned in the last episode how when Eddie drops out of playing rhythm and starts playing a solo, you don't notice because he's just
right. He's Eddie.
He does both so masterfully, and this song is like that. You just don't. It's just part of the song. The solo is part of the song. It's not a section. It's just part of what he plays. That song wouldn't be the same if it didn't have that tapping part at the beginning of it.
No.
So, but it's probably one of my. It's probably, I want to say it's my favorite solo on the album. It's one of the top two.
Have you ever seen the Les Paul tribute from back in probably the 90s or maybe late 80s? It has Eddie. It has Jan Hammer on the guitar.
Oh yeah.
And
I've seen that.
I can't remember who the bassist is.
The guitar.
It's just a weird mix of people.
Right.
And it's weird that it's the Les Paul tribute and Eddie's, got his, it's not the Frankenstrap, but it's not a Les Paul.
Right.
But anyway, they play a version of this song during that tribute concert, and it's weird because you don't get all of the drumming.
Yeah.
He just breaks into the solo, and the drummer tried to follow along.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love, if you watch Eddie perform, I'm sure this isn't the only song he does it, but he's got this kind of back and forth that he does with his feet.
Yeah.
It's like a heel tap almost that while he's playing the main riff.
Uh-huh.
It's so much fun to watch. I love watching. God, if you've never gone out and if you've never seen Van Halen live, or if you want to go back and experience like some of the early, I've never seen the guy frown. He's always smiling when he's playing. Like this is the best concert ever. And it's like every concert, he has that smile on his face that's so contagious.
Yeah.
And it just makes his playing so much more enjoyable because he's having the time of his life.
I saw an interview with him. It was I don't know what the year was that when they talked to him, but they were talking to him about, or she asked him the question, "How do you feel when people call you a guitar hero or a rock god?" And he's like, I don't really pay attention to that because I'm just doing what I love to do, and I just have so much fun doing it that I don't really care what they call me. And that's what you're talking about. You never see the guy frown because he's literally doing what he's
living his dream
to do. Yeah. It comes through in the way he plays. That's really what you're hearing him play is that he's just completely happy doing what he's doing. And, there's not a lot of guys that are like that.
No. All right, well, we'll cap it off there.
Because we could go for another hour.
We could, yes, we definitely could. Number 4 on our countdown of the top 25 guitar solos of the 80s is Eddie Van Halen in Hot for Teacher. Some bonus songs for this episode. If you've never heard it, go out and listen to the whole 1984 album this week. Yep. But let's highlight some more tracks from 84. Let's start with Drop Dead Legs, which is the end of the first side. I'm picking some album tracks here, but
yes.
The outro solo is what you want to listen to on that one.
Yes.
I just want it to go on forever. They eventually does fade out, but the outro solo on Drop Dead Legs is so good.
Crazy.
It's unique in that you hear Eddie playing the rhythm piece and then you hear him solo over it. So that one, he's not switching back and forth. So there is a actual rhythm piece that you're hearing, and then he solos over it.
True.
The next one, I never knew that I'll Wait was released as a single
because there's a video for it.
Yeah, that never hit me like a single back in the day, but I can actually hear in the mix on the local radio station here, they love to play I'll Wait. which is pretty cool for now. You know,
that's a great song.
It is. I love the synth bass that Michael Anthony like plays along with. So you got that bow, 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 and the kick drum along with it. But
also, did you know that they brought in Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers to help them finish that song?
Really? I didn't know that.
He helped them finish the lyrics.
That's crazy. Well, what's really unique about I'll Wait is you only hear Eddie's guitar in the solo. Like it's all synth.
That's right.
He's all on the keyboards throughout that song until you get to the solo. So
I'm sure that added to their personal problems.
And then you got the exact opposite of I'll Wait, which is my final bonus song, which is the final track on the album, House of Pain.
Yes.
Which you can hear Eddie throughout the entire song.
Riff. I love that song.
Oh, man. And he just, it's like, you know, he's at one volume the whole song. Dave is trying to sing over it, and it's more of a, I don't know, darker tone that he has in that one. But
you and I off air have been talking about songs that get played at sporting events.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what basketball team it is, but for the longest time, like in the 90s, they would play the intro to that at basketball. Yeah, I don't remember who it was. I have to look that up. But yeah, they would play that intro lick between timeouts or whatever.
That's cool. That's cool because it would make a good arena song.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, stay tuned. You'll hear those bonus songs in their entirety if you've got Spotify Premium. Otherwise, if you want to hear the songs in their entirety, check out the Song Whip links in the show notes, connecting you with those songs in your favorite listening app, or you can just search it out. Find us over there on Twitter or X for a little bit while we finish out the season here at Greatest Lists. We're going to end up shutting it down, but you want to get any comments in, do it there, or you can do it on YouTube as we're releasing episodes over there. YouTube Music is going to be where you're going to find podcasts now from Google. So just so you know, we're already over there. We've already jumped ahead of the switch. So we're on YouTube as well. And of course, go watch Eric talk about some albums too over there if you want to. And then find us at our website, greatestlistpodcast.com.
Yep.
Eric will return to host our next episode, our number 3 selection. I'm feeling a little bit of deja vu coming on, but that's okay. That's okay. We're getting right towards the end. Yep. It is. Right towards the end here, people. Cannot wait to finish out the season. So
yes.
Thanks for listening, and we look forward to continuing our countdown next time.
You've been listening to The Greatest Lists.